Hey everybody, this is Vin. Now we have the topic, the networking devices, which is the module of CCNA 200-301, and what the thing that we are going to cover in this all the term in between. So you probably heard about this all the terms like the switches, router, firewall, the server, client, and this is what about that we are going to be cover, and there's all the things that is quite relevant to you, and you are going to be make the understanding together, which is going to be quite relevant. I will relate with all devices that you have seen or somewhere that you were used, right? So yeah, let's see what are the things that we can make to it, and the things that we are going to be see that would be highly substantial to make understanding in networking devices. So what is a networking? As for written the term right here, the things about this, a computer network is a digital telecommunication network allow nodes to share resources. What about nodes? The nodes, here we can create a nodes, and we are going to say a one node as a client, okay, and another node which is we are going to demonstrate about this as a server. Okay, so I would say this is the server, which is the Google server or YouTube server, and here you are with the smartphone. Right now you're watching a video from that, and probably you were somewhere before few days you uploaded the videos, and that video you are again watching. Like me, I'm doing this also, it would be quite relevant. So I just try to create a scenario or situation to you, how you can relate this whole thing to yourself. Okay, so right now you're watching this video. About this video, whatever the content that you're watching, somewhere you can watch your favorite show. So whatever the content that you're watching, behind this what the technology is working, what the devices is working to provide the services like this. The smartphone, which is as a client right here, which is going to receive the packets or information to the server, and the server is given over here. But what about the functionality in between both? So what is talking about this? A client is the device that accesses the service made available by the server. It means that the server is a provider right here, who is providing the services to the client, and the client who is listener right here or receiver right here. Okay, what about the server? Server is a device that provides the function or service for the client. Okay, so it means that it's talking about this specifically. The client is a receiver and sender is a server. But here's the catch about this node. The same device can be a client in some situation and the server in other situation. Okay, so it's talking about the peer-to-peer network too. Okay, now suppose that you're recording a video, and then after you're uploading a video. So when you upload the video, so something that you are providing to the server, and this smartphone become the server for a moment, for while you are uploading. Okay, and this it would become the client for a duration, for a moment. So it means that something, it vice versa right here. Okay, so it could change, or we can say something it's replaced itself as a functional things, right? The functionality would change. It means that a sender can receive, a receiver can a server, or a receiver can a client. If I would take another example, it would relate better to you. Initially we were using a smartphone, and nowadays too we have a functionality about to share the files or information to each device to another device. So that we use, that we call the Bluetooth technology. This is also a peer-to-peer. This is the also peer-to-peer network. So the both devices is connecting to each other. The receiver would be act as a, the sender would be act as a server, and it would be act as a client. But when it will let me just indicate, okay, right here, the piece, the phone 1 and the phone 2. The phone 1 could be a client. When it will send, when it will receive the information or kind of file from the phone 2, so it would be a server for a moment. When the P1, the phone 1, will send a file, so it will become a server, and this one become a client right here. It means that something is also became in a situation that we call the vice versa for this too. Okay, what about the switches? This is another story behind this. Okay, now let me just fix this, what is happening right here. Now, okay, so what about the switches? The switches, so this is also a device where we see mainly for the connectivity, where we have need to connect somewhere a bunch of devices, so that where we do use of the switches. Okay, initially instead of the switches we were using the hub, but nowadays we are using the switches because the hubs have no intelligence. Switches have, the switches have their own operating system. In this all the we can do the configuration. Okay, we can do configuration. So whatever the things we were struggling about, the congestion or collision of the packets, so we or frame, sorry for that, the frame in the switches we see the frames actually work, because this is the thing that we see on the layer 2, so the frames is work over here, so the collision that we see with the frame. Okay, so the hubs, that was the initial technology that was quite not good, but now we have switches. Let's talk about the switches. It's a switch that provide the connectivity to host within the same LAN. Yeah, exactly. So we have a one switch, and here we have a LAN. So in LAN we have a bunch of devices, PCs. Okay, we have bunch of pieces that we can connect to each other by a one single switch. So switch do connectivity to the end devices. These all the end devices could be a server too. Okay, the end devices could be a printer, so whatever the end devices are, the switches do connect to each other. These are all the devices. Switches have many network interfaces port for end host to connect to. Yeah, really, if we do compare with the router, so router have less in comparison to the switches. Switches have, initially we see there's 24, and somewhere is 28 too, right? So yeah, this is all about the switches thing. What about next to it? Yeah, now here, do not provide the connectivity between LANs or the network. Yeah, it's a mainly as I told, the switches work is connectivity. It will not going to work as a somewhere which is going to connect one LAN to another LAN. It's connect the host devices to create a LAN, right? It means that something we can draw it over here, so it will going to help us in a better way. Like we have the switch, okay, and the switch is connected to bunch of PCs. And this switch is connected to the one router, and that router is connected to the switch. In the same situation, in the same way, here we have also the 4 PCs. So it means that this is a one single LAN. Okay, here we have one single LAN. This is also one single LAN, and this is also one single LAN. The router do connectivity in between LAN. Here's the thing that's talking about. But the switches do play the role in connectivity. Remember this. Now specifically about the router. Router is a layer 3 device, remember. Here's the thing about the routers. It's a mainly do route the traffic. The main purpose of the router to route the traffic. So here's the thing which is very common but quite different in comparison to switches. The switches have large in comparison to fewer interfaces. So switches have large interfaces, connectivity, large number of ports in comparison to router. What about the router? The router are used to provide the connectivity between LANs, as I draw over here the topology in the situation, which is quite perfectly aligning to it. Okay, so routers are used to send data over the internet. Exactly, right here we can connect another router to it, and that router is connected to the internet. That's possible. It's quite similar. It's quite relevant. This is ISP, Internet Service Provider. The router can connect to ISP. Now what about the firewall? This is a highly substantial thing about the network devices, because this provides the security in a different term. Let's see. Firewall can be labeled to, it's a layer, right? It's a layer. In real, it's a label is talking about the label, but it's a layer. It's a layer 3, 4 and 7. 3 network, 4 it's a that we call the network. What about the 4? Yeah, so this is the application layer, this is session layer. Let me just explain the all thing about this, but four is transport. Yeah, where the TCP and UDP work. Okay, so this is the application layer. Okay, this is 7. It means that mainly the firewall work for the network layer and transport layer, and for 7th, which is the application layer. Remember this. To call the transport layer, application layer. Okay, so the layer that we have application layer, then the presentation layer, the session layer, transport layer, network layer, data link, and physical layer. There is first three and last three and first four. This is mainly the network, and this is the application that we call. The network engineers do play in between these layers: transport, network, data link, and physical. The transport layer is also a layer which is working between application and network. So here we can relate this line, which is right now talking about inside and outside the network. So if I will draw, here we have a PC which is connected to a switch. Okay, this is PC1, switch 1, and that switch is connected to the router, and that router is connected to the internet, and that internet is connected to the same router, same type of router, not the same router, and that router is connected to the switch, and that switch is connected to the another PC. So if I would say, here we have a router, and here we have a router 2, router 1, and switch 1, not 1, 2, PC 2, right? So this is the one LAN, and yeah, this is another LAN. Okay, so what is talking about inside the, it's can placed inside, outside the LAN. Okay, outside the LAN or inside the LAN. So what does mean inside the LAN? It means that the firewall can placed in between switch and router. Out of the LAN, it means that before the router. Okay, inside the router or before the router and after the router, and inside the LAN or out of the LAN, right? This is what it means. Monitoring and control the network traffic based on the configure rules. Yeah, we can allow and deny the traffic based on our requirement, which traffic I want to deny and which traffic or which particular website I want to allow or which particular website I want to deny. This all thing that we can configure to it are known as the next generation firewall when they include the more modern and advanced filtering capabilities. Yes, we have this kind of capabilities that we do apply or we do filter in the firewalls. What about the host-based firewall? So host-based firewall is probably you will always going to see in the Windows computer or any kind of computer where as you know, right, the Defender, which is also the host-based firewall. So the host-based firewall is protect the PC or computer as a which act as a application, but which is also going to be protected all the way. Okay, and this is the application based firewall, not something that we call the hardware based firewall, right? Like ASA or that Palo Alto, Barracuda, these all are the hardware based firewall, but now we are talking about the application software based firewall. This is the Windows Defender that we see or somewhere we can relate. Now this is all about this topic, and if you have a question about this, you can ask, you can drop the question right here in comment box. I will let you know what about this, all the things that are missing out over here. Thank you.